I play this game to have fun, and in so doing, one thing I cannot and will not tolerate is people wasting my time or anyone else's time. So while I like discussion, if I catch you saying something that's not germane to what we're talking about, or you kind of repeat yourself a bunch, saying the same thing over and over again, I'm going to cut you off, and that's not because I don't like you or because I don't respect you. It's because I got to keep this moving. Um, I got somebody asking me for the password. One sec.
Dave, are you recording, bro? The password is Emperor, by the way, guys. As in God Emperor, but there's no capital E. It's just Emperor. No cap.
I did not select that password.
I did.
I know.
Recording.
Good.
Okay.
So to start out, I want to talk about a mentoring circle. And before I say that, I'm not going to comment on other commanders losing their shit over stuff other commanders do.
User
But since
joined your
I've done it
channel.
from time to time, I'll admit to being wrong, and I apologize for that. And I'll personally try to keep that down in the future. Now, I have noticed that there's some reluctance to get feedback and advice on commanding. So I'd like to set up kind of a formal thing to get that to happen for people that want it to happen. And the best way I could think to do it that it would actually happen was to set it up in such a way that everyone involved would have a mentor and a mentee in a circle. And the advantages of doing it this way are that you don't have to worry about being the 900th guy to ask somebody a question. It should build some relationships, and it'll push knowledge in a way that isn't communicated such as to become doctrine. Like, one of the things I don't like about having big ass classes and stuff is it's kind of like, here's how you do this, and there's some wrinkles there, and I think it's easier to get those wrinkles when it's kind of through this one-on-one, almost telephone kind of way. Also for me, and I suspect for other people, it's kind of an OG's to try to teach people as a group. I mean, Higgins, you've run a class, so you can tell me your opinion on it, but it's certainly like awkward to like, I haven't even done it, but go out to individual people and be like, hey, do you need help commanding? Because I noticed you wipe a lot. You don't want to do that. You don't be that guy. And it should also have some impact on building teamwork between guilds, although I'm not claiming that this will be a panacea for that. And the biggest advantage to it is that I think it'll have the desired effect while being a very low time commitment for everybody. And I think it's the best return for time invested as far as training new commanders go and getting the proprietary knowledge running around Fort Aspenwood. Obviously, this would be a purely voluntary system. My thinking is that everybody will be paired up with people who aren't in their guild. After we get it running, we can take another look at it in a few months to see if it offers any improvement. But that was my presentation on the mentoring circles. Anybody have any thoughts on that, or opinions, or questions, or?
All right. So I think great idea. At the end of the day, though, this comes back to like I think it's been brought up in a past meeting. Like, so if we want to bring new commanders up and running, like we all know as commanders that the biggest thing is that like you need people. So like if you're not on leading, you should encourage your guildies or so and so to run with new people. I mean, as long as they're not fucking trolls or whatever. I mean, even if they don't use the team speak, just be a kind human being and like just roll with them. Um, but like everything else, yeah, like it's a good idea. Like we need people. I mean, I've always said it. Like since Novus left, I mean, like and Tyrion picked up. Like we always need that person. We always need people to do it. And like the cold hard truth is like, yeah, we can go back to gold. Like for all the guilds that want to go back to gold, but like we're not gonna get there unless like we pick our shit back up because like we're not in the same position FA was in 4 months ago where we could just dick around and we'd still DPS would pick up the slack at night and that's where we get our PPT. Like unfortunately, like if we want to go back to gold, like I mean, tank it or not, whatever happened to us 2 months ago to get us down to silver, like we need to recover and get back up there if you guys actually want the fight. So like all the guilds that want these gold tier fights, if you really want these fights, you're gonna have to pick up the slack with everyone else for like the next few weeks, if it's even possible,
I think
to get us
it
back
gets
up.
cut of your jib.
Yeah.
Is any other thoughts on it?
Are you basing this on some let's say people asking, or is this something you feel needs to occur?
This is something I feel needs to occur, and it's also some like whenever people do ask me a question, it's like set up in it's couched in these sort of like I'm
User
sorry to
joined your
bother
channel.
you, please don't hate me kind of ways, and it's kind of like I don't want there to be that barrier to it, and I think this is the easiest way to get rid of that barrier.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
No, it's great.
I mean, like back in Gods and Ace, like with SDS, like SDS and I, like we and Ace, we would team up and like, I mean, Durf helped SDS come in too, but like we helped SDS a lot. I mean, granted, like we stopped helping them and they just do their own thing, but like still, they're like a benefit. Like they were escorting Yaks to hills like all day yesterday on DBPL, and that's still like a benefit, and you know it's nice. And like I've run Saturday mornings with Nova, and like I've helped him set up TeamSpeak, and like he's like learning like more advanced shit like from Obey, and he's Nova from Obey, and like
Mm-hmm.
you know at the end of every single fight, like we did it 3 Saturdays in a row. I mean, one of them was an ace, and then the last two were with Rhett when I was with Rhett, and every single time he's like, yeah man, thanks, like I definitely learned some shit, and a lot of that's like situational, where like I mean you'll eventually learn that on yourself, but a lot of it like we can just help him out with like dumb mistakes.
You can definitely accelerate the process.
I think it's a great idea. The only thing I would refrain from, and I've been seeing it happening more lately, is other commanders calling out the new commanders on TS, like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" You know, something
Yeah.
like that should really be via PM or somewhere else. You don't want to call people out
Your
because that's the
channel was
worst thing to
edited.
see.
Yep.
Especially
I
as
agree.
somebody following the new commander, it's like, well, why am I going to follow this guy? The other commander shitting on him.
I completely agree, and that really speaks to just maturity, really. And you know, like I've said, I think we've all been guilty of it. I know I have, and
Your
so like I
channel was
said,
edited.
uh, I admit to being wrong when I've done that, and I apologize, and I will try to not do it and again in the future. But you know, it can be hard. You know, it's a very stressful kind of game sometimes when you're commanding, as I think you all know. And it kind of brings us into our next thing. I actually wanted to have this meeting about 24 hours ago before the thing I predicted would go down in terms of angry words would go down in the shout box, but unfortunately I had shit to do yesterday. Um, so my prescience was for naught. But what I will say about that, all I really want to say about that is that when somebody's having a bad commanding day, try not to poke the bear. Like it's kind of like you trying to console somebody whose dog died by telling them that it was a bad dog and they should be happy their bad dog died. It really is not productive. And if somebody's really a dick and they really have it coming, they're still going to be a dick tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. Like you can wait until you know you say, hey man, we got to have an intervention. Um, and I think a lot of that revolves around the next topic I wanted to bring up, which is points per tick. The point I basically wanted to make was to make the case for points per tick and why we should give it more than a passing interest. I think it's fair to say that a lot of us... Oh, Tyrion's trying to get in. Just waiting for him to step in. I'll just repeat the last part real quick. The point I was trying to make here was to make the case for points per tick and why we should give it more than a passing interest. I think it's fair to say that a lot of us, maybe not everyone, but a lot of us prefer the open field fights to other types of fights. Those of us who favor open field fights should probably care more about points per tick than we seem to currently. I know that historically we've kind of had that undercurrent that gets us all mad when we
User
think
joined
about
your channel.
PPT and says we should put the tape over the score, but this isn't really wise because PPT can be used to get fights, or more specifically, it can be used to keep your opponent from avoiding fights, right? Like let's say that you log in on whatever time zone and your opponent has a waypointed hills and this is all you have to attack. Well, you're basically not going to get an open field fight. You can't get so distracted by anything else that you let the other team turtle, or else you're just going to have a bad night. You know, if you usually beat a server in the open field, they're going to turtle like no tomorrow once they get something that's as easily defensible as a hills bag farm. Now, whether your opponent cares about PPT or not, PPT will still get you fights. If you can hold most of the map, well, then you can dictate that they have to fight you a lot. If you concede stuff left and right for no reason, then the other team is probably going to take the free champ bag instead of bash their head against a wall on you, right? And to some extent, points per tick also has a direct impact on our ability to recruit new players. And, you know, as much as we wish that nobody would ever leave our guilds, the game does get old with people, and we have to bring in new blood from time to time. And as much as we complain that we don't want Fairweathers, the fact that people don't play when the score is down is a reflection on how much there is to do as an ungilded, unclued player in World versus World when you're severely outcovered, more than it's a reflection of fairweatherness. If you can attract those players and get them into World versus World guilds, chances are 65% of them will stop being fairweathers. I have a pretty big statistical sample to look at. It's called reticle, so just take my word for that. But that was kind of the point I wanted to make about PPT. PPT gets you fights. Does anyone want to kind of piggyback on that or comment on that or say I'm wrong?
And like I said, like earlier, like a lot of us now want to get the fuck out of silver and get back into gold, and the way to do that is to build your Glico rating, and the way to do that is to get higher points in the other server, and the way to do that is PPT. So like, got to do some dirty work to get back up to these good gold fights.
There's some really small, easy things to do, like capping camps at the 5-minute mark, stuff like that. Not really PPT whoring, but it helps out, and
it's gonna be like a pain, but like once you get back in the system of it, you won't even think about it. It'll just be like second nature. After, I mean, the first 2 weeks are gonna suck. Like, oh yeah, now I have to do this where normally I wouldn't. But like eventually you'll just wrap your leading style around that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and when you do it well, like you get fights like there's no tomorrow. Like you get fight after fight after fight. Whereas if you don't play PPT, then it's much easier for your opponent to just ignore you and just karma farm. Yeah.
Dude, can I add? There's nothing that brings a Zerg out of a well-defended keep like a well-defended open field trip.
That's true, except unless you're talking about hills.
Yeah, hills is just a tough.
Hills sucks. Please don't lose hills. If you like sieging hills, if you are that guy, please let me know so that whenever I have to siege a waypointed hills, I can just call you in and you can do it for me because I don't want to. So, like, if I have hills, I will defend that to the death. But it's true, open field trebs do get you fights. But that's in large part also just a reflection of the fact that, like, Bay and Garrison and Hills all have different fight genres. Like, Bay is, can you win an open field fight? If you can win an open field fight, you can take Bay. Garrison is, can you win small man fights? Like, if you try to run into Garrison with a hammer train, it probably shouldn't work. You need to spread out to take it because of just how it's built. There's 3 levels. There's, you know, all sorts of entrances into that Lord's Room. The game wants you to win that by breaking up into smaller groups and winning smaller fights as soon as there's not a hammer train to deal with.
You can kind of approach hills like, how well do you defend open field siege? And how persistent are you? Because
Hills is the genre of Hills is really supposed to be, can you break through chokes? Because Hills has like 9 or 10 like really, really tough chokes no matter which way you go.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just a poorly designed keep in that way, because any way you can think of to attack Hills, there's a hard counter for. That, I mean, you can. I think it's pretty safe to say that, except versus like an Omega Rush, and even sometimes against a huge Omega Rush, you can defend that keep outnumbered 3-1.
I love Hills because of that.
And that's why I hate it. But that's why you should never give up Hills. But that's
actually, but if you understand how to defend Hills, you
joined
can
your
understand
channel.
how to siege it.
Well, then I need to call you next time I lose Hills.
Yeah, because there's some very easy ways, and if you have an experienced person in terms of like siege combat, you can get Hills back pretty quickly. That and the fights there, like if they are forced to like fight you one-on-one, you're going to get quite a few backs because they will hide behind their siege once you take their siege out. Although I will have to say, taking a fully upgraded hills is a long process. You must drain supply. If you let
Yeah,
any
it's
supply,
a real siege.
yeah, it's a real siege. Like Bay, yeah, you know, it can be a real siege at times, but for the most part, it's not too bad. Hills is the second worst keep to crack. First one being, in my opinion, Overlook on EB.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But anyways, we were getting slightly off topic, but
Any other thoughts on PPT? Any dissenting thoughts? Like, you think what I'm saying? We think what we're saying is kind of bullshit because we could be wrong.
Defense, man. Like, if you're commanding, because you guys know, I mostly command like small stuff. I don't ever try to command militia or anything. But it's a chore. Like, if you're interested in defense or you just interested in winning the match for smaller guilds, it's a chore for us to like set up defense. Whereas you guys can throw a treb down and build it like instantly if you got 20, 30 guys following you around.
Yep.
Like, there's definitely not enough focus around that. People are they're too antagonistic in World v World. Like, they want to go to garrison even though they know they can't take it.
That
and
might
try
be
to
a
just
like a thing with leagues though.
Yeah, I was gonna like journalism.
My
It's a good
returning
point, yeah.
guildies are kind of throwing up their hands like all WoW is catch and release, catch and release. I'm like, this isn't really how it
WoW
is.
v
It's
World,
just the end of leagues.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on points per tick and why we should or shouldn't play it? Sweet. All right, let's go on to the third thing. That was easy. We're almost done, and it's 9:17 p.m. I should run all the meetings. Third thing, and it's a short thing too. I was thinking about the best way to do some things with militia, and the one thing that I've observed, because of like I said, the fair weatherness is just a reflection on what there is to do, not a reflection on whether you're winning or losing. Those two things just happen to go hand in hand. Depending on Rhett status and my status when I move to Rhode Island on Friday, my plan is to make a sort of casual World versus World guild to kind of funnel those people in that runs like, excuse me, 1 or 2 nights a week, and also kind of use it so like when there's a huge militia presence on a map and we need to get an organized guild on, I can kind of like encourage there to be like kind of a karma train on another map to fix that. Let's see, I had some other notes about it. I forgot what I was going to say entirely. Let's see. One check. No, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. What I'm looking for here is an interest level, like how like good idea, bad idea, pretty much is all I was going to get on this.
Yeah.
Oh, it all sounds good.
Basically, like speaking like guilds, the community. So like Hammer, like I think we should definitely try to pick up that Walking Dead Wednesday. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, we only tried it 1 week, right?
Yeah, I tried to get a second and a third time, but the third time I'll try to set it up again next week. I was really busy and kind of lapsed.
I want to make sure that there's something we do with the community that's not kind of, I don't want to say like, I'm not trying to be offensive here, but gimmick based. Like, I want to make sure that people get exposed to like regular World versus World, if that makes sense. Because Walking Dead Wednesday, Hammer, like, it's kind of, it's fun, but it's yeah.
Not how it's supposed to be run.
It's better than a Dolyak run, though.
It is better than Dolyak run.
Like, at least you're keeping it kill focused instead of some really RP thing.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments on that or anything else?
Hammer is going to be running this weekend, next weekend, and then after that I'm on break, and then I'm in Puerto Rico. But after that, if someone wants to lead for like 4 weeks, send me a PM because I'm gonna need someone to lead. And the reason why I haven't done it the last 2 weeks is because we've been smashing people and the queues are not worth it. So yeah.
All right.
judging from what Higgins said earlier, we're all commanders here. Everybody understands that the first couple weeks might be a little rough, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Good fights time.
Good fights time indeed, but some people are gonna get a little, on
Discouraged.
edge and all that.
And sync what you just said. How some commanders won't give a fuck about PPT. It's because as a whole, FA hasn't given a fuck about PPT. So like that can change. Like
Let's get to the post who era. All right. Anything else? Sounds like we've gotten through everything.
Cool.
Awesome. Now I have just begun and completed a server meeting in under 22 minutes.
I
Beat
can
that,
change that.
motherfuckers.
Cool. I could change that.
Nice.
The part where we fall apart and like talk bad about the server. Is that this part of the meeting?
That's this part of the meeting. Well, it's the post meeting. It's the after party.
Ah. So all Commander Wub squad, where are we going?
Hey, Zoel, so how are we going to implement the training?
I am going to put up a thing in the war zone that says post here with the names of people in your guild who want to be a part of this. And then as soon as I next have access to the forum, I will use my superior judgment and intellect to assign mentors and mentees.
A Google Doc might not be the worst thing either. I mean,
well, I don't want to solicit. I'll figure it out. I just want to solicit it and put it in the war zone.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because like if you did a Google Doc, I mean, besides the fact that people could dick around with it, that way like as an edit standpoint, people could like literally sign up when they wanted to. Like, I mean, you could go as far to be like, hey, I'm gonna be free on these hours. Like this is my calendar. Like,
No.
okay.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Good.
That's too much effort. No.
All right, cool.
No, this is one-on-ones. This is you having a personal relationship with a mentor and a mentee.
Okay. Got it.
And you dictate the terms of your relationship with that person.
That sounds better anyway. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Dude, it reminds me of like frat, like big bro, little bro.
Kinda. Well.
Let's not sell it like that.
Yeah, no.
No.
That's
You're
kinda
part
what
of the
I
group, Higgins,
We're
but
gonna need you to come near this. No, don't worry, it's cool. You're one of us now.
Yeah. All right, good show. Oh, that's all I had.
Are there any other attempts at derailing this meeting before? I tried. I mean, nothing.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
All right.
Just
Respect. Then.
Well,
Everybody-
actually, have you
everybody
guys
be
ever
ready for
wondered
drama.
about? I can't think of anything. Damn it.
I win!
Oh,
All right, bye.
User
All right.
disconnected.
look at
from
him
your
run.
channel.
Leave him on a high note.